Reason to Die, one of the best Roblox games to ever grace the Roblox page. A game that resides deep within my heart and the hearts of many others. The original Reason to Die was a gem and was the GOAT of Roblox zombie shooters when it released in 2008. It took the idea of Left 4 Dead and expanded it to make its own. It even was able to win an award at one point or another. Soon, however, Place Rebuilders shut down the original game due to a massive exploiter wave, in favor of remaking the entire game bigger and better. After months upon months of waiting, in 2014, Place Rebuilder released Reason to Die Awakening, an entire reimagining of the original game. This remake had more guns, more tools, more armor, better gameplay, and better graphics. Well, as better as you can get graphics to be in Roblox. This remake was well beloved by many when it first came out. A lot of people loved this game, so much so that this game made it to the Bloxies 5 separate times. It proceeded to lose those 5 times, but we don't talk about that in this house. The game was pretty fun in the beginning, but as time went on, the game just started to fall apart. The holes in this game started to show as the events started to become less fun and heartful. The game started slowly turning into a grind fest for the best weapons, and the smoking gun of it all, the toxic community. This, along with Place Rebuilder's mental health starting to explode like a PVZ cherry bomb, made him shut down the game in 2021. If you want a more detailed breakdown of why this whole game crumbled, you can check one of the 50 other R2D timeline videos out there. Then, from the fog of the sad shutdown of Reason to Die, came the sudden development of a fan-made game called Ready to Die. This remake of a remake attempts to rebuild the original game from the ground up and improve on some of the flaws, such as gaining more money and XP easily from zombies being way more fun to actually play now, and weapons being more generally balanced. This game is a niche success, but a humongous success in my heart. This could be the nostalgia speaking, but the game is finally back and finally fun again. And because I've been grinding this game an insane amount and I know an awful lot about it, today I want to give you guys a comprehensive guide on Ready to Die. I want to give you all the knowledge possible about this game so you'll stop being rank 5 virgins and become rank 40 Chad. There will hopefully be timestamps somewhere in the comments or section bars somewhere on the timeline of this video, so you can see the separate chapters I've dissected this guide into. Feel free to jump around, I will permit it as long as you hit that silly little sub button under the video. Without any further ado, are you ready to die? So you first open up the game and start looking for servers. What should you do? Join a full server? Join a server with no one in it? Make your own server and alt farm? Let me tell you what you are getting into with every server and what every single server type means. Starting with default servers. Default servers are just servers that are able to play every game mode. And the server I recommend you hop in first. It has the most variety and most fun to be had. Battle Station are servers that run the free-for-all game mode. Battle Station is a fun server to play to absolutely dunk on, but it doesn't do much else money or XP wise. Standoff, however, is the main server where the money can be at. Standoff servers run the Showdown game mode. The Showdown game mode is just a Western standoff. Everybody gets the old-fashioned Winchester rifle and the dual Peacemaker revolvers, and they fight to the death. It is a fun game mode, but the main draw is you get 250 doubloons per kill in the game's current state. So if you have an alt account, you could theoretically farm a crap ton of cash with this game mode. Stalemate, no, not the thing that you get in chess.
Oh my rook, what am I doing?
It's just a silly mode where everyone gets grenades every 5 seconds, and if you have over 3 grenades, you go kablooey! Be the last one standing to win. Simple game mode, simple fun. Meal Smash is similar to Battle Station, as it only runs one PvP game mode, Meal Smash. And every kill you get gets you $50. The plot twist is everyone can only use melee weapons, so bring out your shovels, chainsaws, spears, and flags for this one, folks. Server size. Server size matters because it can entirely change your experience. If you play on a larger server that contains about 30 people, there will be a lot of chaos and also a lot of money to be had.
I can't stop winning.
A lot of various things will be going down at all times, and there will always usually be someone for you to kill. It doesn't depend on being a survivor or a zombie. Servers with a lot of players usually are the way to go. If you can even find a server with more than 10 players. God damn! If you join a smaller server, things will tend to be chiller and there will be less to usually worry about. A lot of time you'll be more or less sitting around as a survivor doing nothing and worrying about nothing, except for the AI hordes. Servers of 10 people usually are filled with people trying to queue up for nothing more than the PvE game mode and just farm their life away. So it is pretty cool if you want to farm cash as a survivor. So once you hop into a default server, you have to know what you are up against or what you might play as. So I will quickly run down all of the zombies for you and how to best use them or go against them, starting with the common infected. Common infected are usually kind of the most trash zombie of the bunch. However, the common does have its moments. They can be very annoying in crowds or be used to quickly catch a reloading player off guard to get some chip damage in, so you can get that juicy, delicious, scrumdiddlyumptious $170 assist bonus. It also can be used to just outright kill new players that don't know how to punch or kick yet. So there's that. As a player fighting against one, just treat them like a 3-year-old at the local playground. Bully them and beat them up. One punch or kick stops them entirely and lets them be finished off by a melee or gun. When a whole horde is upon you, you can either run away from them, run through them, or use something like a grenade or molotov to get rid of them. When I say run through them, I don't mean run through them blindly. If you punch, kick, or swing your melee, you will get a few seconds of invincibility from zombie bites, which can be really useful to get away from Zeds or secure a kill on a common. Tickers.
Ooh, I'm gonna bubble. No, my bad. Guys? Oh yeah! Vector! Oh yeah!
Vector, and it's like everyone's just
Vector!
The anti-crowd special infected. It is amazing at catching people off guard and separating players. Even just walking in gets everyone to walk away from you like you're a fat League of Legends player in a house party. The one thing you have to remember when playing as a ticker is you don't always have to rush in. Rushing in and just exploding can get you some fun insta-kills, but if you want to make progress sometimes, it is just better to use your large 350 HP pool to just walk towards them for a quick nibble. My best advice for countering a ticker is to just put some distance between you and it. If you can't melt it down with bullets, then you should absolutely skedaddle. You can also trip it while it is running by using something like the fire extinguisher or a spear, but it will still explode on impact with the floor, so be very, very careful. Swarmers. The bees, Jarvis! The bees! Another good anti-crowd special infected that can especially help kill weakened players and support common infected crowds. You can hold down the attack button to throw a beehive that covers a small area of bees. These bees will sting a survivor for about 30 damage. These bees' knees is the primary thing you'll be using the most, due to its spammability, flexibility, and high damage ability. However, the primary ranged beeswax is really good for helping your common infected pals get a feast in because of the humongous slowdown the beeswax does. This special infected is one of the few special infecteds you have to focus on to kill, since if you let the bee farmer live, you'll probably absolutely get wrecked later by this insect-fueled zombie. In a 1v1 scenario, try your best to put some distance between yourself and the bee maniac, since the bees cannot get tossed that far. If you have a close range weapon, you're just going to have to quickly hit your shots and melt down its rather small health.
La 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 la.
Elementals. The annoying runts that you'll always manage to get killed by somehow. They do an insane amount of damage whenever they even breathe on you with a small particle of fire. Playing as them though, they are more or less a glass cannon, mainly being used to pick off random lonely survivors and the thing that forces survivors to always pay attention to the game. The primary attack throws a fireball that can fly pretty far pretty fast. Hitting somebody with the fireball will set them on fire for like 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds are killer. Every time an elemental sets you on fire, it will do an entire 50 damage, which is wild. Literally 2 fireballs will kill the average player. These fireballs have pretty good range on them, so you can either take a survivor on in a 1v1 or cower back and spam fireballs. The other ways an elemental can set survivors on fire is by touching them and quote-unquote rebirthing. The rebirth is just when you press F and have over half of your stamina bar. You do a small explosion, leaving fire in a small area around you and healing back all of your health. The rebirth isn't really too useful on the offense because of the rather long startup time to explode. However, to keep yourself going in a little survivor in Zed War, it is pretty neato. Fighting an elemental, you're going to have to be very, very careful. If you aren't, you will go back home to your family already pre-cremated. Keep your distance from the elemental and be ready to dodge some fireballs like you're the last man standing in 3rd grade dodgeball. Most explosives will insta-kill an elemental, so things like an M202 or hand grenade will do the job well. You also can stop them from going anywhere near you at all if you have a fire extinguisher, which you'll probably have due to how useful it is in general. If you don't want to deal with an elemental in general, you also can just put on a fire vest and just chill for the whole game, since it just entirely just stops you from being set alight.
Hello guys, Irish from Irish, I'm here. I believe this game has some of the most creative characters. And this freaky guy. The freaky, or freaker, normally known as Edgar, is a zombie who uses their tongue, like a sniper, to catch someone, and then pull them closer, and then slowly strangle them to death. You get the gist. Basically, this guy can snipe someone from super far or up close, and disarm them or paralyze them. This makes it easier for other zombies to attack or get closer to the guy you've caught. But you also become a target during this attack, as it's frequent that someone has a sniper or a weapon that shoots far enough to kill you, releasing your victim. And if they are already low health, it may take a long time to kill them without help, leaving more time to get sniped. Another part of it is you have to know where and when you're aiming, adding more of a skill depth to it like an actual sniper. You have to figure out the direction of where your target is going and also calculate when it arrives to them. Oh man. In my personal opinion, factored by no one, this is one of my favorite characters. I just like Sniper. I've done it in most games I've played. This guy also has something to do with way less of a chance to just to die instantly. I mean, if you look at the list of zombies and go through them, this guy would definitely be higher than at least 5 guys. The normal zombie is basically just a bait. The bomber guys are very situational. The leapers, you have to control yourself and sneak around places so you're very low health. Elemental fire guy, you basically have a slug shotgun that is slow firing. The miner depends on what ground and what map the survivors are on. The beekeeper zombies basically have a grenade that disarms people, but other than that, you have to be very up close, or at least a few meters to more out to hit your honey throws. And the brute? Well, it's a brute. I don't know what else you would expect other than them being super strong. On the list, I can tell you that my top 3 would be Brute, Edgar, and a tie between the Elemental and the Miner. To repeat, this is my opinion, and I like playing the annoying types. I don't even care about playing the actual game. I enjoy playing as a zombie more than the hero survivors because you can easily change the game's flow. And obviously, what fun is there in grinding away for a weapon in a game that about becoming the zombies you survive against? That's all for my part. Thanks for listening to my explanation on Edgar or the Freaker, and my take on the actual guy. Irish, out.
If you are playing as a leaper, use your leaping speed to fly at people who are alone and isolated, making sure to give them all of the bad touch. You also can fly into groups of enemies if you want to secure a kill on a low health player. As a leaper, you do a crap ton of damage, 10 damage every second or tick to be specific. So look for enemies who are at about 1/4 of health and shoot for the stars. You also want to watch your stamina very closely because leaping a lot will get you across the map fast, but it also can leave you stranded with no energy. Since you have a surprising amount of movement speed when leaping, you can use it to run away if you don't have the energy or perfect opening to secure a kill on a survivor. Leapers are the special assassins of the special infected cast. Even if you are in a group, they will do an insane amount of damage to you and shred you in an instant if you aren't careful. Leapers suck against anything that is 2 feet off the ground, so you can sit on height if you are paranoid of getting grabbed. You also can have insane reaction time and gun them down before they get to you, but that will depend harder on your tracking and skills. If you generally don't want to get killed by these special pick infecteds, you'll have to stay with your friends or just generally near other players.
Okay, don't make any sudden moves. On one side.
Diggers, or as I like to call them, dig bars. They are the most irritating specials to deal with of the entire cast, mainly due to the ability of being able to dig underground and pop up at any time to trip you, while also having a pretty large amount of health to just sit there and take every bullet you shoot at them for a while. The best way to counter them is to trip them. If they're down on the floor, they can't dodge around your bullets and trip you to get killed by a brute. If you are worried about them digging up from the floor, you can get on the high ground to prevent them from unburying underneath you. There are also various places where these mining men will not be able to unbury from the ground or bury into the ground. These spots are usually indoors, so learn about them and use them to your advantage. Now, playing as a mining zombie, you will be a combo starter for your other zombie brethren. mainly due to the ability to just pop up at any time and trip survivors. This sudden banana peel cosplay will make common infected more easily able to swarm survivors, will make brutes want to kiss you on the mouth, tickers will be very happy that you stopped them from running, and eggers will want to strangle you because you made them miss their tongue. If you toss a survivor into another fellow digger, then you will be playing a fun game of volleyball while the survivor questions their life choices. Supporting isn't the only thing it can do though, because this dumb rat can also deal good chip damage and give an insane killer blow. The pickaxe swipe is more finicky to use in its current state, but what it hits, it really hits. This sharpness 10 pickaxe deals 75 damage in one singular swipe, ending most players even slightly damaged. The thing is though with the pickaxe, is it takes a lot of energy to use and is harder to combo into on your own. So try using the other special infecteds around to your advantage. If you see someone getting pulled by a tongue or tripped from an explosion, you can be a greedy bastard and finish off the fellow before they even get a chance to type for help.
Fuck those guys.
Big Daddy Brutes. My main advice is to not be afraid of the brutes. You can shred and kill them if you know what you are doing. As a survivor, you have way more mobility than the brute. Use this to your advantage to evade club strikes and club throws. The clubs have travel time and the club smashing animation doesn't allow the brute to attack for 5 seconds. There's a lot of outplay potential with a traveling club. The best way to bait the throw of a club is just the simple idea of walking in a straight line one direction and then immediately cranking a 90 and going a complete opposite direction. When playing as a brute, a lot of it can be rather skill based. What's good, dog? But you still can make an extreme amount of progress as this Zed, no matter the skill level. The main attack you'll be using, of course, is throwing your club. This club throw will knock over any survivor caught in the explosion, do 140 damage with a direct hit. Now that's a lot of damage. The muscle memory will build with time when throwing a club, but generally you want to predict when they're going and shoot towards where they'll be in a couple of seconds. The shield and basic hammer slam are good when combined together to rush into a survivor's hold or close the gap on a running survivor. The shield is really good when you find yourself getting overwhelmed by an insane amount of firepower, i.e. you see 3 survivors with M249s or miniguns. You can use this shield to either try to close the gap or waddle your way away from a fight. The basic club smash is mainly useful in close quarters combat to trip your opponent for a combo with the club throw. It is severely weaker than its OG state due to there being a 5-second wait before striking your club again, but there are moments when you will want to use it, so don't forget you have it. Now we get into the good stuff, the map selection in this game. Here I will give you my basic opinion on every map, along with telling you some tips and tricks about it. I also keep your attention in this boring rundown by doing a mega cool, awesome sauce, Subway Surfer like tier list. Oh my god, tier list, holy crap. So sit back, grab your local head of cabbage, and be ready to be impressed with my one and only goated map review. Starting with... Final Harvest is a pretty cool map on paper. There are a lot of unique places to hide out on this map. There is a basement, water towers, and even the silly cargo train. The main thing though are the corners of the map. The corners of this map are so far away and rather just OP to hide on. This is because you have a pretty good vantage point and most spawns are further away from you, giving you time to pick Zeds off before they get to you. Also, due to the distance, you can just start to run away when things get scary. You got it! The best weapons for this map are assault rifles and snipers, so you can stay on the run and assassinate Zeds from the corner of the map. Playing as a Zed though, this map is more or less whatever. The long walk times make brutes, diggers, and eggers the main viable special infecteds to play as, if you don't want to spend 5 business days walking your way towards the enemy. As I said with my live reaction, this map is worse than average. It's just D tier. Pretty sizable map and pretty fun map to play on as a survivor. As a zombie, it can be pretty fun as well. This is mainly due to all the buildings you can cower and make plays behind, such as an elemental, brute, or freaky. I recommend you bring long-range weapons as a survivor so you don't get sniped and can delete enemies before they make it to you. So you can bring items such as the R700, Honey Badger, Luger, or M202 to make the special infecteds want to not live anymore. Any spot you go to can lead to good success. Going to the tall towers is really good if you want to sit away from most of the action and snipe zombies. You can go to the playground if you want to be more in the action and be more close quarters combat with Zeds. You also can ride the train if you want to be a humongous a-hole. This map is awesome, but it is really overused nowadays, way above average, and a lot of fun. A tier. A pretty difficult map to live on as a survivor. This is because it is rather small and compact, being surrounded by a crap ton of water that you can't really do much with. As a zombie, you can easily win on this map most of the time. If you just rush with enough Zed power, you can slowly, or quickly, deplete their health and get them killed. A quick zombie tip, if you submerge your character under the water, you will be invincible to bullet damage, as the bullets will just hit the top layer of water. Playing on this map as a survivor is honestly just a test of skill and coordination, since there is nowhere to hide and chill, and there is absolutely nowhere to run on a desolate island. You will need things that will help you live the best on your own. So things like the Spaz 12, Wingmaster, assault rifles, and the godforsaken P90, and emotional support. Because god damn, you will need yourself some therapy to live through the terror of surviving on this map. Since you'll require years of mental help, a solid above average B tier map. This map in its current state is exclusive to the more PvP based game modes such as Free For All and Clock Potato. It is a pretty solid map for PvP. It is a rather small map, so usually you'll be forced into close range encounters, which is fun for Meal Smash and the funny clock game mode, but more whatever on Free For All. You'll want close range goats in FFA like shotguns and mid-on weapons. In Melee Smash, just use what you're good with. I like and am good with Spear and Torch, so I just use that combo. It's the definition of average. Extremely small, but can be good fun. C tier. Fox River, my beloved. I love the old map for being small and simple, even if kinda bad. And I love this updated version so much more. It expands the map to be a bit less small and way more fun. There's a bit more variety of where to go, and that bit more variety goes a long way. Even with the map being a bit bigger, you still should bring more close range weapons to take advantage of the smaller than average map. Flamethrowers, shotguns, melee weapons, they'll usually do the trick. Playing as a Zed, take advantage of there only being one major spot for survivors to group up at. You can send explosions and bees underneath the floor and kill a lot of non-aware survivors, also making them rather triggered as they rot on the floor. As a tongue feller, you can pull the survivors off the roof and towers to make them suffer fall damage and separate them from their team. The only Zed that can feel a bit useless here is the Leaper, since it is harder to make it work on the buildings. This map is my top 10 personal favorites, always awesome, S tier. This map is kinda meh. As survivors it is meh, as Zeds it can be meh. When you're a survivor, you're going to be lounging around for more than half the game doing nothing, because most Zeds will struggle to get onto you on the top of the helicopter pad. If you go down to the zombie fuel depths below alone, you are for sure gonna struggle. So you kinda just chill up top until a brute comes up and kills everyone. Also, fun fact, there's a spot in the bottom of the map with 0 ammo stations, 0 medkits, and basically 0 ways to get out if you get stuck on it. When zombie time comes around, you will be climbing for ages to get to the survivors, just to get shot to death immediately, bringing up a bit of the gameplay loop that everyone hated in the original R2DA. It turns the game into a Sisyphus machine, waiting until you get a brute or egger so you can actually do something. You can get occasional dopamine moments when you get on top of it though, and sometimes the rivals will run down to the bottom in the beginning for freer kills. It is on par with Final Harvest in my mind, where it has fun sometimes and there are some areas of the map that are really cool. However, most of the map is just whatever. Below average, D tier. Dead Plaza is the best concept for a map in R2D, and is executed rather well. The mall setting is awesome to run around in, it is just spacious enough to evade enemies, and yet is small enough to find a good store to settle down in. The small space though will more often than not catch up with you fast, so bring some close range killers, i.e. flamethrower and shotguns and mid-on weapons and so on. As Zeds, no Zeds really do nothing on this map. Leapers can zoom across the entire map and get damage in. And the close quarters is amazing for high damage dealing Zeds. And even though you can't dig as a digger, you still can get good damage in. This map is overall average in a fun way. B tier. The port is absolutely humongous, but it makes up for it with its better zombie spawns. It manages to be a big map with plenty of places to run, but done right because infected will usually always be on you, unlike damn Portland, which you will see my thoughts on later. Just don't play PvP on this map unless you're trying to play the world's worst Where's Waldo game. This map is the definition of a marathon versus the sprint of other maps. You either want to find a good place to settle down at and start a life on this map, or you'll want to get all the stamina increasing items you can get a hold of. Capes, Ace Cola, Candy Cane? And you'll want to throw away all those pesky, terrible close range items such as the flamethrower or the Shoddy 12. Playing as the Zed, you'll have a good time. The rooftops are nice to snipe from as a brooder egger, then running through the streets, the alleyways and buildings are frequent enough to be able to dodge into and yet not make the whole map a guessing game of where the enemy is. The variety of where you can go to do sneak attacks is great, and there aren't any major areas that feel overpowered and awful to fight against. The factory rooftops are rougher than average, but everything else has its pros and cons for survivors and Zeds alike. This map is a nice side grade to something like Shoot 'em Up Town, Baller B tier. Cool average map. It's a nice chill map on the roster with a good amount of space to maneuver. A nice main home to hold down if you're the type of guy to fight for your life in the building, and a couple of other sheds to run in case of emergency. It's a nice medium-sized fun map. As a survivor, you can either sit on the main house, main center roof, or the hills to snipe Zeds, or you can run an AR and run around like a madman hunting Zeds before they hunt you. There is a nice decently sized dock you can run to when you need to get away, but be aware that the water leading to the ocean will instantly kill you. When you get hit with a freak virus, you want to use the more open areas to your advantage, either chasing a survivor into a building or cutting them off when they are running away by taking the small hills. The small hills around the map will often be in the survivor's blind spot and will be good to use to get the jump on survivors. The bushes also absorb gunfire as well, so you can hide within them to get yourself more of an advantage. The map is average, but does have a couple of unique fun elements to it to make it a part of B tier, however a bit more towards the lower end of it. Another PvP based map. For now, it only runs Meal Smash. The map is okay, it's just the other ship map but smaller and less fun. It's cool for what it is. It's nice to get funny clips knocking people off the ship with things like the spear, but it's only Meal Smash. It is nice that it is only Meal Smash, because I don't think much else will work on a map like this. However, that is where the issue lies. The map is just so small and cramped you can't do much outside of a small Meal Smash server. C for the seamen within the water, and the humongous amount of semen all over the screen when I went around of Clock Potato. This map makes me want to blow my brains out. Huge map with a very small concurrent player base equals hell. Holy ninja Fortnite Tyler Blevins. It is boring waiting years for zombies to pull up on you or slowly walking as a ticker across the entire map just to miss the explosion. Something needs to be done about this map, but I have no clue what. I'm not a map designer. This remake needs to redo the original map some justice. God dang it. F tier. Only map that makes me question my affection for this game, and if you enjoyed this map, you deserve a life sentence. Anywho, snipers, scout armor, and hammer for exploits. The edges of the map are ducked, to put it simply. Oh no! In the town, you can just stand on the cement walls and annihilate any single zombie making progress towards you. Then, when things get fishy, you can just run across the entire map, dodging everything easily due to the insane amount of places you can just run in and out of. There's also a cramped underground area to escape into. This map has a lot of escape options that just make playing as a zombie rough and playing as a survivor easier than normal, if you equip the right items in time. Playing as a zombie, things will usually be extremely slow. Eggers are nice to cross-map snipe with, brutes suffer due to the long travel times, and leapers will do their leaping thing. If you ignore that this map is broken currently, it is a fun time. The house makes a good spot to camp in if you're that type of player. The rooftops are a good place to play support, and you can sure have a fun time frolicking away in the fields like you're Dorothy looking for the Wizard of Oz, or running away from zombies. It's a solid map, but holy, the PvE version literally requires you to take a silly way out and become a zombie. Speaking of zombies, all the special infecteds will have a fun time on this map. Diggers can catch random field frolickers off guard, the explosive and close range zombies will dominate the farmhouse and be farming survivors for free cash, and leapers along with eggers will be able to do their peak potential. Leapers can travel the map fast, and eggers can pull survivors off the roof or sit 30 miles away in the fields. If you don't count the broken spawns, this map is a fun B tier. This map is a 50-50. You either sit outside on the rooftops of this map and get smited by the power of nowhere to run and nowhere to hide, or you go indoors and get publicly executed by your local ticker and brute population. This map usually goes one type of way most of the time. Everyone who hides inside gets jumped by the tickers and brutes, and everyone on the rooftop are fighting for their lives up there due to the close spawns. This map is a madhouse and the type of insane asylum where you will need a shotgun or some other close range goat to survive it. The hospital is the one place where it can require the hammer to be able to live longer than 3 minutes on the inside. Tanker builds will be better off than builds based more on running around to survive, since there's nowhere to run. When you get decimated in 10 seconds, you will join the zombie team, which will either steamroll or is already steamrolling. As stated previously, the AoE Zeds will ruin the lives of players indoors. The one main tip I can give you as an infected is you can use the explosives through floors. So you can go to the floor below and spam brute clubs and bees galore, making everyone on the server want to kill you. Though, my argument is you should be more aware of your surroundings, unless a brute straight off spawn downstairs insta-kills you. Then, you got unlucky. Average map overall, has its ups and downs, C tier. This map is the GOAT map and is probably in my top 10 list. It's a fun small map with a lot of silly potential. There's usually always action to be had on this map due to the close quarters nature. Melee weapons are awesome on this map just because you can toss Zeds off of the oil rig and send them down to the depths below. Sniper and explosives can work, but they are harder to use and position yourself with. Everything else though can work extremely well. Just be careful when near the edge of the map, especially the bottom of it. The 3 different floors of this map can be used for different game plans. You can use the bottom floor to trip Zeds into the water, the middle floor to be more concrete and a solid place to hunker down, and the top floor to run around like a madman and break the zombies' ankles like you're an NBA player. When you toss off the map and turn into an octo zombie, you'll be in good hands on this map. The short walk times make common infected playable to play as, the multiple floors allow for funny wall bangs as a brute and silly trick shots as an Edgar. The only zombie that can really be cucked heavily in this map is the Leaper. Crippled people and Leapers both have one thing in common. They hate stairs. The stairs make playing as a Leaper 10 times more slow and painful. You'll be spending all the time trying to work your way up the stairs only to get absolutely domed by a random survivor and get sent straight back down to zombie hell. However, overall, this map is pretty dang fun. S tier, hands down in my top 10 maps list. A balanced big map. It's a simple big map separated by one huge bridge. It's a larger than average map done right. There are plenty of places to run without it being imbalanced, and if you want to set up somewhere, there are plenty of places to do it. You can snipe from on top of the bridge, at the drawback of you being the immediate target of every brute and Edgar. If you wanted to run around a lot, you can successfully, but have to be more cautious of the many areas Zeds can just cut you off at. If you hold up in the spawn shed or one of the King Street houses, you can get overwhelmed fast. Top 10 iconic R2D map, S tier. Anywho, let's start talking about survivors. This map is a bit big with a couple of buildings you can scale, so stamina increasing armor can rule here along with things like the Karambit to quickly get out of dodge. When playing the almost impossible campaign, you're really gonna want to work together with your teammates, since you can no longer punch or kick anymore while holding a tire, or tire with a Y, as the stupid goddamn British call it. If no one can cover you, you will be dropping the tire a lot to cover yourself and keep Zeds off your back. When moving tires, you can toss them off buildings to stack them up in one area to make locating and moving the tires better for your team. Tip of the day. When moving tires across a bridge, you can drop the tires and have them roll straight down to the car if you place them at the right angle. When you become the King Street Crook zombies, you will want to take advantage of the various areas where you can cut off the survivor's vision of you, such as the shed and spawn, stairs and subway, and the large amount of buildings across the street of King Street. These places to jump survivors from can be useful as every zombie. The Ticker can get their insta-kills, commons get their chip damage in, and brutes will do brute stuff. If survivors start to get a hold of your patterns, change it up. Go a different route, maybe a longer route if need be, especially if you have something like a good special infected. If your close spawn gets camped down, press C and go for a longer distance spawn to get a chance to do something. Smaller and chaotic map, but good chaotic fun. Matches will often end faster than I do in bed. You will often have to run a lot of close ranged weapons like the Wingmaster or Flamethrower to not get overwhelmed. You can sit on that one giant pane of glass if you want to run something like a China Leg or a Barrette and snipe special infecteds. As infecteds, You'll usually be able to put in a lot of work with anything. Common infected even work well here because of the closer knit environment. Only really eggers and diggers can be hard to work with. The diggers can't diggy hole on much of anywhere on this map, and the more smushy environment with less cover to hide and surprise people behind makes you a humongous target. Especially since everyone's, including me, hatred for those mining folk go very, very deep. Eggers are more simple. The close range just makes you easier to pop out of the air before you can do anything. This map is usually always some sort of fun due to the major chaos. However, the chaos is nice and more or less balanced, unlike Satius Outpost. You'll have more fun knowing you just got overrun than you just randomly got insta-killed by a ticker. A tier. A large map with a big hotel where everyone will be camping on the whole game. Karambit and other movement enhancing items can be very, very useful on this map since there are so many random inclines to climb. You can run around on the bridges if you need a place to run to, and the factory is a nice place to settle down at. This map is just flexible to what playstyle you want to do, but is a bit larger than average, making zombies alright to play on this map. There are a good amount of places and areas to duck behind to avoid getting shot, but not so many that survivors can just run from alleyway to alleyway like one godforsaken man. This map is the definition of, it's alright. Direct C tier, middle of it, middle of the road. Apartment complex, I find it quite simple really. This map is honestly just as it says, complex. The main center area is fine and the rooftops are fun to run on. They'll usually also be your main saving grace since running on the ground can be a nightmare. However, there are so many cracks and places to fall down in between buildings, and when you get trapped, you get trapped. ARs and snipers will pub stomp on this map, along with movement items. You also, as both a survivor and Zed, can parkour up the sides of the wall to reach the high life of building life. Speaking of Zeds, let me tell you the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, the plans A and the plan Z. Diggers will do the thing of being annoying scoundrels who will knock players off buildings and be the reason why you should stay off the ground. Along with tickers also ruling the floor domain with diggers. Leapers have a really hard time on this map since, as stated previously, they struggle with anything 2 feet above the ground. So slap people 30 feet in the air and this crawling fellow will have a stroke over not getting to anyone. The main fun though can be with eggers and roots, since they do really well on and off high ground, being the epitome of
"Hey yo, the pizza here!"
knocking people off buildings and forcing you to test whether or not fall damage really does exist. This map is pretty alright. It has its fun moments because of the high grounds you'll be fighting on, but the many little cracks between the buildings and strange architecture makes this a lower B tier. Some may say B-, or B for beautifully confusing. A more nostalgic map for me. This is because I spent hours just playing this map all the time. I would get home from school and hop right on R2D and always managed to find myself on this map and enjoying this map. I always found it underrated at the time and I still think it is to a certain extent. This map is just solid. The signs are good to snipe on for the support snooze crew in the cast, the buildings are good and fun to run in between and on when you run an all-rounder kit, and the flamethrower can dominate in the streets. The only issue I feel with this map is all you kind of do is run around the center of it all day and there isn't really somewhere to hold out in, but that is a rather minor opinion in a map based off of a bus station. When you unfortunately get hit by a bus that comes in on this map and turn into a brute, making every Zed player in a 100-mile radius angry, you'll have a good amount of fun on this map. The tunnels and bushes allow for good flank routes and places to ambush survivors. You can get some good distance as an egger to get your good picks, and you'll obviously have fun playing as the AoE zombies due to all the walls you can smash your head against and make wall bangs with. This map is just fun all the time. Every time. S tier.
Of course a chain link fence is bulletproof, no bullets passing through a chain link.
Now going from a good map to a very bad map. This map sucks just because of the lighting. The cramped boat setting is a great idea and is fun to play around. I remember on old R2DA when this boat would even sink. Unfortunately, the ship just doesn't sink, so you're just left with a ship. This map used to be kinda sick, but is now kinda boo-boo just because of the lighting. Use close range weapons if you want to fight on the bottom of the ship. You can hide on the top of the ship if you want to snipe or not immediately get killed by a ticker. When playing as a zombie, take advantage of the close quarters and the thin flooring to rush down the survivors. If there are any survivors on the rooftops, there are 3 separate ways to get to them. Remember them, the cargo containers, the side rope, and the helipad. Also, don't be afraid to knock a player off the ship. Even if you don't get any cash, It can be nice to get rid of a troubling and skillful player by tossing them overboard like you're replicating the Boston Tea Party. Well, with less British and more WWE throws. F for lighting alone, D if you don't count the lighting and just count the cramped ship gameplay. This map is alright. You can hop from rooftop to rooftop and chill inside of some buildings. There even is a rather spacious shooting range to mucker down in or sit on top of. The other place I can recommend is the obvious skyscraper, for it being more difficult to get on and fight against as a Zed, since there are only 2 separate openings Zed can come from. You can just constantly keep them away by shutting down the entrances with firepower or buildings and live for a really long while. Having no ammo station up there too doesn't even matter with how much every survivor just stacks up there, and the longer Zed walk time in the tower. The other spot you can use / abuse is the bridge, because hardcore parkour isn't really possible for someone with an entire Chernobyl's worth of radiation in their back pocket. Speaking of hazmats, zombies will have a pretty alright time here. There's a little bit of everything for every special infected here, and the rooftops allow for more thought behind Zed attacks. As a leaper, you can fly through the streets, and the mining mole rats, total drama, let me design your team names, can easily dig in all of the floors. Eggers also can do their annoying sniping thing by just sitting 30 miles away and putting the scope on them. Or, if you're like me, miss every shot for 3 minutes until you get bored and die immediately going in. However, every game will either be really rough or really simple for one easy factor of if there are people camping in the tower. This issue brings me to the ranking of the map, where this and the bridge are the only main problems in question regarding this map. Along with this map kinda just being meh overall, there are areas that are just grounds for camping, and most people will chill in the designated boring cool kid spots for the entire game. The idea of something like a skyscraper is fun, and the amount of elevator shenanigans that can ensue is awesome. However, it can really be extremely slower paced due to the size of the map and amount of buildings in both the survivors and zombies' path. My live ranking of this map really explains my thought on it well. This one, I'd say, is average. This map is whatever because it's slow. It really feels like the game can be chugging along sometimes, and then other times you'll just be like dead in an instant and you'll be running around a lot. The Outskirts is a cool map. It is a map with a little bit of everything. And because it has a little bit of everything, there surprisingly isn't too much to say. Most of the stores and their sizes are self-explanatory for their uses. The last-ditch holds are bunkering down forever in them. The big antenna tower is a Brett user's wet dream, and I don't have to explain why. The lower and underground areas are good to sneak off to gain more Zed kills. Just don't get too mad when you inevitably get grabbed by a leaper and your team can't help you because you decide to travel an entire multiverse away from them. You also can feel like you're in an action movie by jumping off the cliff into the safe water below to try to escape Zeds. Playing as a Zed, things are pretty nifty, since there is a decent amount of counterplay you can do to the survivor shenanigans. If they go alone in the tunnels, you can surprise them as the 2 special pick infecteds. If there's a sniper being a sniper in the tower, you can blow them to the underworld as a brute or ticker, and runners don't tend to get far when diggers are involved. This map is nice overall, though mighty forgettable. C tier. Has its moments, but only really for certain servers. This surprised me, but this map is a PvP or free-for-all only map. The original had a bit of everything. However, playing this map as an FFA only map, the map is alright. You can hide in buildings to plan what to do next if the server is extremely full. However, if there are only 5 people in the server, then it is high noon. It's a nice map with its ups and downs, like it being too big for its own good, and having insane spaces you can wander off to. However, the setting is really cool and the underground western houses are nice to fight within. This map is chill. It has some silly spots that really emphasize that zombie ladders should make a comeback, but otherwise, it's chill. The beach is nice to run around on, the dock is nice to stare at the sunset, and there are plenty of places to get killed at. The buildings are solid and pretty balanced to chill inside of, for those players who want to huddle up around the campfire to sing some campfire songs. The rooftops make for good sniping positions while easily being accessible for zombies, and you can run for your life in the streets as well, if that is your flow. There isn't too much to say besides just take advantage of the environment that is at hand and don't just sit around spawn. Look around and experiment a bit and you can find a large amount of useful places and information to survive. Or kill, as the same thing goes for zombies too. This map is overall underrated in my opinion, though a couple spots need to have something be done with them. There's a lot you can do on this map and a surprising amount of variety for a simple town on the beach. B tier. You know the Cafe County map? You know how it is kinda small? Well, try that, but you literally get insta-killed getting out of the spawn doors. Isn't that wacky? God, love this game. Anywho, this map is a cramped underworld, so shotguns and things with a hard attachment can pop off in this map. Explosives are pretty good to keep hallways clear and kill special infected hiding behind walls. The pool area is one of the better places to stay at due to it being the only actually open area. Be careful when you're rotating to different positions because brutes, tickers, and elemental will put you in a top 10 dumbest players montage with you at the number 1 spot. As a Martian-based zombie form, you really want to take advantage of the close quarters combat. Tickers will have a great time in this map with the several walls to explode off of and the ability to goo off the few available areas. Diggers, leapers, and eggers on the other hand, they'll feel like commons with extra steps. A little extra dash of maybe I can do something with this, before getting railed by 30 different M249 survivors. There really isn't much to this map, it is just more cramped than an Osu player's hand after a 10-hour gaming session. Even ignoring the millions of exploits this map has that makes it unplayable, it still just feels terrible to play on as a survivor. Extremely balanced more towards said gameplay. Dong tier. This map is alright for survivors and really mid for Zeds. As the one and only Sigma survivor, you will want to run around outside a lot more. The inside of the tunnels is extremely cramped, and because of how little survivors go in there, they will mainly be used to hide. Also on the outside, there are just so many spots to run to and from, along with Zeds going to you having zero cover to take advantage of to progress towards you, making the running survivor extremely annoying to deal with, especially if they stack up on movement, armor, and items like the Ace Cola, so do that. Also, some of the high ground like the lighthouse is just really OP and annoying for no reason. When playing as a Zed, you will have a less than ideal time because you will get the definition of R2D moment. Going in there just to get shot to death repeatedly, waiting and hoping until you get a good special infected. There aren't any strats or ideas to be had as Zeds. All you can really do is just walk around and maybe surprise people from the height or use the one piece of fence or shifted rock you have as cover, when even these are open from every other single angle. This map overall just doesn't mesh well with me or many others. You can fly around the map due to a certain glitch, which is really funny at first and then quickly gets old and people just use this to outrun Zeds easily. My main issue with this map comes in some of its design philosophies. Like having the underground tunnel have so many different areas to run and hide in makes spawning as a zombie awful and locating the last survival even more terrible, since he can be anywhere across the entire large and average map. The tripping ice is a funny gag and a cool concept in theory, however, this just leads to most people to stay off the ice unless it is a last ditch effort run. Even most of the places you can go to on solid land are really less than exciting because they are more often than not just plain boring. Straight into dong tier, lowest and smallest of dong tier as well. A map near and dear to my heart, mainly due to the easier and fun campaign that was attached to this map in the original game. Playing the map without the campaign though, you have to be heavily on the move. There are only 2 places you can sit at, just the 2 big rooftops in the center of the map. The other high ground is just risky because it sits right next to the insta-kill walls. Oh right, did I mention the surrounding cliff just insta-gibbs you? This can be both funny and annoying. You can just graze the wall with one small pixel off your butt cheek and you'll be sent straight up to heaven like one of those annoying TikTok edits. It is also just hilarious though, seeing new players fall for the bait of thinking they can just climb up the hill and be immortal, only to find out what a kill trigger is. Other than that though, snipers are alright, and you want to carry shotguns or ARs along with items to help you be on the move, like Ace Cola and the silly green Superman cape. Zombies on the other hand, will have a decently good time on this map. The close quarters makes it really good for overwhelming survivors with an onslaught of Zed rushes. However, because the floor is almost the definition of lava, with Zed swarming the streets like they're the homeless in LA, most survivors will be on the rooftops, making zombies like leapers and diggers harder to use. Overall, above average and most of the time fun map. Though since there's only survival currently in the game, I do have to put this on the lower end of B tier. This map is if you want something like Panama Beach, but more casual friendly. Honestly like this map a lot more than Panama Beach. The few buildings there add more variety and more of an isolated feel to the beach. It also allows you to do my favorite and more annoying playstyle of sniping and supporting your team. The more space provided also allows you to free roam a lot, more while still giving you a good cramped setting. Now for the Zeds, one good tip I can give for the zombies on this map is if you do get spawn camped, you can switch your spawn further out and spawn behind something like the tower, cargo container, or these fences to give you a moment to figure out what to do next. These miscellaneous objects also provide pretty good cover for both parties of zombies and survivors, so they can dodge various attacks thrown at each other. Overall, this map feels very well placed and thought out. Most everything has a purpose and it is very fun. And just like that, it goes in A tier. Shantytown, more like Shadi got a melody. I hate myself. If you thought Cassius Outpost was bad, well boy, do I have something to tell you. This map takes the idea of Cassius Outpost in closed, cramped environment and ramps it up to the max. The only thing improving off of Cassius Outpost is there is a rooftop you can run to now to survive. However, zombies spawn up there on the rooftops as well, making literally everywhere you go be one of the last places you'll go to. Extremely low C tier. Zeds can steamroll and survivors will struggle. Now for tips and tricks and tips. Just close range weapons and tanky armor. Running strats can work as a survivor, but are really risky. I also really recommend finding a way to the rooftops. These rooftops can allow you to live longer than 10 seconds because you actually have places to head off to when things get sticky, and you have a good view of where zombies are coming from. Zombies will usually steamroll, but elementals, swarmers, and brutes specifically will do extremely well. This is because of the close quarters nature of the map, along with the roof jump scare ability makes elementals more easily able to set survivors on fire, and bees have an easier time just spamming from the rooftops. This map wants to be Victoria Harbor so bad, but it just isn't. You will never be Victoria Harbor. Anywho, this map can fit plenty of playstyles since it is a bit above average sized map. There are a good amount of places to run off to and so many fun scenarios to just be had. Whether it be getting stuck on the big cranes or fighting for your life on the helipad, you will probably have a nice time here. Go wherever you truly want to go and remember that every place has a purpose and you can and should use that purpose to the maximum intent. Playing as a zombie, this map can go either which way. It can be awful and boring slog, or it can be a fun fight until the end. You will want to use the maze of shipping containers in the center of the map to your advantage for the most part. Otherwise, diggers and tickers will be great for more open areas along with brutes just being destructive brutes. All in all, this map is a bit too big for its own good, making survivors that run across the map more annoying than ever, and people that camp on the ship are really hard to deal with. Playing as a survivor isn't bad, and playing as a Zed is a bit meh. Overall, map is C tier. A map that is new to me, but is one that I really mesh with, mainly because it is a small map done right. At least in my pointless micro opinion on the internet. This map is more open because there is literally no cover to use besides just one cabin, making playstyles based more on running around more viable than tanky ones. Though you can sit and play as the heavy if you want to stay close to the cabins. There are also hills you can sit on in the distance if you do want to play support. However, you will have an awful time running a marathon to get more ammo when you run out. This map will be one of those where team coordination will be more natural and more required due to the small map size. Playing as a frostbitten zombie, you will be using and abusing the cabin for most of your winter stay, since there is no other cover for you to use unless you want to go deep into the trifling forest. Though this cabin isn't anything to scoff at, because of the many places you can shift to block the survivor's sightline. Other than the cabin, most other ground Zeds will have a good time due to the smaller nature of the map and the limited areas to run off to. Overall, I like this map a lot and is one of the best maps I played that were unfamiliar to me. Solid, low C tier. Subway Station. A rather cramped map, but I think is underrated. This map really requires you to run something like a good melee or crowd controlling primary because of the more compact setting. Even with more of the weapon limits, this map can be good fun because it is a solid and simple struggle as a survivor, since it will test your close quarters strengths, Daniel-san. The close quarters is limiting, but the areas you do fight in are spacious enough for you to run and jump around in to avoid attacks. When you get hit by a 40-ton forklift and join the zombies team, you will enjoy the small map for the most part. The only special infected that can struggle is Eggers. Eggers can work, but most of the time they get popped before they can do anything, unless you do a close range tongue-in. Okay, who did this script? Otherwise, only diggers will have a harder time than usual, but will still get the job done. Overall, I like this map and I think it is a really underrated farm map because it is an actually more engaging map to farm on than stupid dang shoot 'em up town. Lower B tier because it isn't necessarily better than most of the maps in B. Now we get to the real stuff. How to go from Virgin R2D player to Chad R2D player. Best weapons to use and the best ways to survive.
It's all coming together.
So when you start out playing this game, you cannot just go commando and run through a horde of zombies thinking you can kill them all. Your starter gear is useful, but won't get you out of that type of dodge. Your primaries are more oriented towards support gameplay. Let me explain by breaking down the starting choice between the double barrel shotgun and the Remington 700 hunting rifle. The main thing you will notice immediately is that these weapons chamber rounds one by one. You will be sitting there either reloading or cocking the gun the whole time. Meaning you need to sit in the back and let your teammates do most of the common infected work, while you come in to pick off the odd special infected. Your teammates will thank you if you delete eggers that are pestering everyone from across the map, or delete the ticker that is rushing in to kill everyone. So since these weapons are slow and more team oriented, don't just run in and get turned to a brainless brain muncher unless you like playing as an infected. If you don't know the difference between the double barrel and R700, I can explain it simply as the shotgun is for killing tankier enemies fast, and the R700 is for killing the lighter and long-ranged enemies from a pretty long distance. If you are wondering what sidearm you should use, just use the M93R. It's really good and really useful for hordes, at least early on. It's the best of the free first weapons at keeping the bountiful amount of Zeds off of you. It also meshes really well with the double barrel shotgun and R700, so it is the one thing you're gonna always want to have with you. I usually support having variety and freedom with weapons, but when you start out you absolutely have to use this to get by. But what if I want to use the funny tin pot? I hear you ask. Well, let me introduce you to another niche mechanic, the ability to have 2 secondaries. You can have 2 secondary weapons at once by unequipping your primary and equipping another secondary. As shown by this visual that is on screen, hopefully editor me doesn't mess this up. I'm looking at you, future me. I know what you're doing. This dual equip system will allow you to use the funny tin pot or the longer range shovel and the M93R. Along with this niche tech, I will give you another beginner tip that third person is the main way to go when playing this game. It gives you an insane amount of awareness and allows you to hit way more shots. The first person animations are nice and all, but I prefer being able to live longer than be able to look at cool reloads. There are some times when going into first person will help. Primarily it can help line up piercing bullets, is better in really close confined buildings, and works around some of the game's current jank. So what do you do after you start to level up and get money? What is the first weapon you buy? Well, I can give you some answers, Mr. Voices in my head. The first step to make it out of the zombie hood is to save up for it and purchase the Wingmaster. Long story short about this shotgun, it is as good as they all say. It shreds hordes, which is really good for getting a lot of cash and keeping you alive as a new player. So straight out the gate, save up for it. If you like using the R700 or double barrel shotgun, you can buy the Scorpion to have a better burst damage potential and keep small hordes off of you. However, I really don't recommend doing this, mainly early on, since you will be locking yourself into one playstyle of, I'm gonna keep special infecteds off my team, instead of branching out and experimenting to see what playstyles you fall into. It also won't be too optimal if you want to maximize money from the game mode everyone plays of PvE. The next thing that may overwhelm you as a new player is items and armor. To explain these simply, armor and items are temporary things to help aid you in battle. This means that if you buy and equip some armor, it will consume the armor for that fight and you'll have to buy more. I do recommend messing around with some of these items because they can help your survivability, mainly armor and health items. With armor, you will have to mess around a bit to find what best suits you and your early game budget. With items, just be careful not to waste them or accidentally not recoup the money spent on these items. Just don't overspend and leave yourself with $0 is all this is really all about. I know your spending habits. I am watching you. I am in your walls. We interrupt this program to give you a quick PSA. Don't bully or harass new players. It sounds stupid, but I see this a lot. High ranks discriminate against low ranks and just leave them to die. You don't need to stick by their side and babysit them, though it can help. Just let them know a thing or two. Give them advice like your gramps coming back from the war and giving your grandkids pep talks. And as a new player, if you see someone talking smack, try to ignore it and move on. Don't escalate it further by antagonizing the veteran player or taking advice given as smack talk. This will lead to game losses and losses of monitors. Thank you for listening to the PSA. Now let's get to the... Yes, you read that right. Coming soon. Since I at least want to get something out there for everyone to see and give me feedback on. Because I don't want to make one entire large project and drop it all at once. That will lead to me just straight up burning out and make this video take literal years to come out. Since just staring at a huge product like this and knowing flat out that I'm gonna drop this on a YouTube channel with no subs and no formed audience is only gonna get me nothing in return. When I eventually finish part 2, then I'll probably either make it into a small playlist or combine it into one mega video. For now though, if this YouTube video ended up in your feed and you enjoyed it, leave me a like and sub for more content like this in the future. If you also have any constructive criticism or feedback to give me, along with maybe some tips I can include in future videos, put it down in the comments below. I'll heart any comment that either makes me laugh or has a good point. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure to always keep your head up and have a good day.